Fans are ready for an offseason of change for the Toronto Raptors, but that change needs to happen in the right places, and it feels as though fans may not have their priorities straight when it comes to improving the Toronto Raptors roster. So in today's video, we're going to explore what the main priority should really be for the Raptors to address in the 2024 offseason. Let's get into it. And for starters, it feels as though the title of this video doesn't quite fit the mood of this video. I am kind of disagreeing with what the large portion of the fan base wants to have done for the Raptors in the offseason, but I feel the title can come across a little bit harsh for this specific topic here. But based on what I've seen in online discourses, based on what I've seen in comment sections on my YouTube channel, my main channel, Amateur Sports in particular, it very much to me seems like that the majority of the fan base doesn't quite understand, at least in my opinion, what the true need for the Raptors is in the upcoming offseason. So in thinking that perhaps those priorities were not straight, the priorities were not aligned with my thinking for the team in the offseason, I decided to launch a poll as I normally do on my main channel to see what Raptors fans thought that was the position that the team needed to focus on the most for bolstering in the free agent season. Which position is the most important to strengthen in the offseason? And well, did not get the results I was expecting here. Now, when it comes to putting polls on my main channel, typically, I can usually gauge what the results are going to be. And honestly, I thought that point guard, shooting guard would be a much more dominated position than the center. But as it turns out, as you can see here, 54% of the voters, of the 1.2K people who voted in this Amateur Sports Raptors community, 54% said the biggest position of need for bolstering in free agency is the center position. Now, I specifically said in this one, free agency, so perhaps this is something to do with maybe in the draft, more of a focus going towards the guard positions, therefore in free agency, you should focus on centers, but I mean, the wide range of Raptors fans commenting on the draft are looking at Zach Edey in the draft, so I wouldn't say that's the case. Raptors fans want this team to bolster in the center position, but that really just does not make sense to me, and I'm going to explain why over the course of this video. But before we go any further, as a reminder, this is Amateur Sports 2, the second channel in the Amateur Hour Production Network, where we give you additional Toronto Raptors content and videos just like this. Drop a like if you enjoy along the way, and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. So, looking at the Raptors depth chart from the way they finished the season, we can kind of see where the glaring holes are with this team. You know, I'm looking around here at the starters and the second unit for the Raptors, the way they finished the season. And honestly, tell me if I'm wrong, but is the strongest duo, let's say, the strongest backup, is it not in the center position? Like, you've got Jakob Poeltl and Kelly Olynyk, two quality NBA players. Jakob Poeltl is a very good center, very good rim protector. It was an unfortunate trade that brought him here. We know that, but it's not Jakob Poeltl's fault that the Masai Ujiri made a bad trade in order to bring him back to the Raptors. Jakob Poeltl's very good, and we saw the Raptors' record without him, how bad it was. He's an extremely important player to this team. And in the second unit, Kelly Olynyk was a serviceable starter with Jakob Poeltl out injured, and he's going to be a great backup to have for the team going forward. Play as the 5, can play as the 4, spaces the floor, good playmaking, good score. Like, there's a lot to like about Kelly Olynyk. But then you go to the other positions here. Like, obviously, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, absolute locks for this team going forward. Abaji, there's still some question marks about him after not playing as we would have hoped post-trade deadline. Bruce Brown, I mean, there's a lot of questions about him, the way he played for the Raptors, some of which Bruce Brown has attributed to an injury, so hopefully he's healthy next season. But, if he's healthy, he may not even be on the Raptors. He might get traded. He might leave in free agency. Who knows what's going to happen to him? In the shooting guard positions, well, if Trent stays and you still have Grady Dick, I'd say that's your strongest duo. But there's question marks about Gary Trent's future heading into free agency. And then you go to the point guard position where, honestly, Javon Freeman-Liberty, to me, isn't a guy that should be playing in your 10-man rotation on a day-to-day basis unless something changes over the summer. I'm sorry, Javon, but that's just the way I feel. Emmanuel Quickley, I love. That's an absolute lock there. But, as far as the best the Raptors look in any position across two players in the depth chart, it's probably the center position. And both of the Raptors' centers are locked in for multiple years. Kelly Olynyk has 2 years, just signed a 2-year extension. Poeltl has 3 years left on his contract. So it very much does not seem to me that the center is the priority for the Raptors. Now, I do want another center for this team. I do want a third center. I do want one that can protect the rim so that if Jakob Poeltl is out, the rim protection isn't a complete disaster like it was in the latter stages of the most recent NBA regular season. But nonetheless, I'm pretty happy with that. And I think that the positions that need strengthening the most, well, I mean, you could make a case that every single position needs strengthening more than the center position. They need a backup point guard. They just like we'll leave the point guard for last. They need a backup point guard. Shooting guards, fine for now. Have to see about Gary Trent Jr. And you probably want to add in maybe some more floor spacing into your team anyways. Might be good to get an extra shooting guard to the team as well. Maybe more so than for a center position. Absolutely need a wing. A small forward or a power forward who can, like a guy who can play both the 3 and the 4, who's got size, can defend multiple positions. Easier said than done acquiring that, but the Raptors need a big wing who can defend. And my goodness, going back to point guards, oh my God, the Raptors need point guard depth. I am not ready for a 4th straight season where the Raptors' point guard depth is not being addressed. Please, for the love of God, Masai Ujiri, get an NBA quality backup point guard. The Malachi Flynn experiment is over. Okay? He's gone now. So it should have been over years ago, but now it's guaranteed over. Bring a backup point guard into this team. It's been 3 years. Like look at the Raptors' point guard depth over the last 3 years. So here's the most recent season. Bruce Brown was listed as a point guard because he had to play there so often. That goes to show you how bad it was. Emmanuel Quickley was the point guard for the end of the season. You had Schroeder at the start of the season. The backup, as we saw with the depth chart, was Javon Freeman-Liberty. Look, Javon Freeman-Liberty, fun player. Is he NBA caliber on a day-to-day basis? I really don't think so. I don't even think he'll be here on the team next season. So you need another point guard. But like this trend has just continued for years. We go to the season before that. The point guard depth. Fred VanVleet was the point guard. His backup with Malachi Flynn, who fell out of favor and out of rotation. His backup at the end of the season with Jeff Doughton, who ran out of game eligibility and couldn't participate in the postseason. Therefore, he could not play in the play-in tournament loss to the Chicago Bulls. Delano Banton was never in rotation this season. That was the guards. Those were the guards. Those 4 players. You had Fred VanVleet, who had not his best season. You had Flynn, who you couldn't trust enough to play. You had Banton, who you couldn't trust enough to play. And Jeff Doughton, who you weren't even willing to give a contract to so that he could play for you in the postseason. Crazy. And that was after a year where the point guard depth was once again Fred VanVleet, all-star season. Malachi Flynn is his backup. And Goran Dragic. Tremont Waters like a 10-day contract when the Raptors had like everybody in health and safety protocols. He doesn't really count. Armani Brooks was getting playtime, and like, he was out of the league essentially at the end of the year. Banton here again. Started the season well, tapered off pretty quickly. But for this season, I will say a little bit of defense for Malachi Flynn. He ended the previous season, which was a Tampa season, pretty well. So maybe the Raptors felt as though he could have stepped up to the backup point guard spot. But then that theme of Flynn, maybe he'll step up this season. Year after year after year. Okay, maybe Flynn steps up and is a backup point guard season. Okay, didn't really happen. Year 3, now he steps up. Year 4, nobody thought he would step up except for the Raptors front office, who still used him as the backup point guard, and he had big play time to start the season. What I'm getting at here is that it's very clear the guards are the biggest necessity for the Raptors to improve upon their team in the offseason, in free agency. And if it's not guards, I'll tell you what it isn't. It certainly isn't center. We have 2 good ones. It's certainly bolstering the defense with a big wing who can defend multiple positions. Like there are so many larger needs for this team than the center position. But I think that for some reason, I don't know what it is, the fan base seems to be so infatuated with Nick Claxton potentially coming in free agency and Zach Edey in the NBA draft. I don't know. It just doesn't really equate to me like, you know, players Raptors should even go after in general, unless you're getting Zach Edey in the second round of the NBA draft. Nick Claxton seems very unrealistic for me for the Raptors to end up signing. But even still, like, why invest so much in Nick Claxton? Like, what would be like a $95 million plus contract over 4 years when you already have Pirtle? Like, you want to talk about Pirtle's fit? By the way, it's good. Like, it'd be nice if he could space the floor, but I think every NBA team wants a center who can space the floor. Guess who also doesn't space the floor? Nick Claxton. He's probably not that much better than Pirtle defensively. On offense, Pirtle's the much better passer, much better kind of player in the high post screen setter, in my opinion. So that's going to provide you more space than Nick Claxton would. I don't know. This doesn't make sense. Would it be nice to add in Nick Claxton? Yes. Would it be nice to strengthen the center position? Yes. But is that the biggest need for the Raptors in the upcoming offseason? Absolutely not. But you let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is the biggest priority for the Raptors to bolster? What is the biggest positional need for the Raptors to bolster in the upcoming offseason? Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That's all for me for today. Make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Sports 2 for more Raptors content like this, but check out my main channel for my probably better Raptors content. Check out my reaction channel for the best stream clips and highlights from the streams from, hey, this channel up here. Here's another video that you might enjoy from my main channel, but I'll see you guys again next time for another video here on Amateur Sports 2.